Hi, this is Simon from writtenlegalenglish.com. On Tuesday, I asked you to have a look at some sentences that I found from a bank's website and to redraft them into plainer, more professional English. Here, I'm going to go through those sentences and explain how I would go through those and redraft them. So let's begin. Okay, so this is a quick reminder of the two sentences that I asked you to have a look at. If you didn't see the video on Tuesday, then quickly pause the video here, read those sentences, and have a quick think about how you would redraft them. Okay, with that being done, let's go. Okay, so this is the first message. Conto Prestige World account is kept free of charge in case of monthly turnover on the account of at least 10,000 zloty in the previous month or at an average from the last 3 months, and at least one payment with a debit card in a month. So I asked you to have a look at a number of different things. These are the things that I mainly concentrated on. So I was thinking about the main messages. As a result of identifying the main messages, I then looked at the sentence structure because you can't put two main messages into one sentence. Each of the main messages has got to be presented in a different sentence or presented in a different way, as you'll see in a second. Well, as you'll see now, because I've presented some of the pieces of information in a tabulated form. So I identified there are some criteria. And when there is criteria, then you've got to present that criteria ideally in a tabulated list or in a tabulated form in some way. Or if you could put it into a table structure, then that's even better yet. I also had a look at you and your. Now, I know that this sentence, in normal, if I went into the bank and I asked about this particular account, then I know that the bank advisor would say, you can do this, you can do that, we can do this, we can do that. And the writing on the website should reflect this exactly. So it should be the same. You can do this, you can do that, this is what you need to do, and so on. So you need to talk to the client properly. One thing that I didn't like in this was the misuse of brackets, and I can see that brackets or parentheses are misused a lot, and they're misused in the sense that people are actually putting important information into parentheses, but the problem is that these parentheses, these brackets, should only be used for non-essential information. And I think this information in the previous month or as an average from the last 3 months is actually really important. And the problem with using parentheses is that very often readers just ignore it because the readers see the brackets and they say, nah, not important, I'm not going to read it, and they just skip over it, which is a huge mistake because I think, as you'll see in a second, this is really relevant information. And I explain that here. Less important information is actually important information. So enough of the talk. Let's show you what I did. It's this. You do not have to pay any fees to hold your Conto Prestige World account if you, and here are two criteria, have a monthly turnover of at least 10,000 zloty on your account. This is counted as turnover in the previous month or as an average across the last 3 months, and make at least one payment with your debit card in a month. So we've done a lot of different things here. Let me get my pen tool out and see if I can make some notes. So I talked about main messages, and here they are. There are 3 in essence, I think. You don't have to pay any fees to hold on to your bank account. That's the main message. But then there are 2 criteria which tell you how you don't pay any fees. And those are those messages in the tabulated list. Sentence structure. I've turned everything into the active voice. So there was lots of passive voice there in the original sentence, which we didn't need to use if we introduce you and your and we and us, because by doing that, automatically we start speaking or using the active voice. And I've got rid of those brackets entirely, and I've presented the information normally, naturally, because it's all important information. So that's something you have to really think about if you're using brackets. Is this important information? If it is, it goes out of the brackets. If it's not, then it goes into the brackets. But then if it's not important information, you've really got to ask yourself the question, does it actually need to be there? Because that's another valid question for non-essential information. Okay, and here's the second sentence. So ATM cash withdrawal in a foreign currency is converted to PLN, which involves an additional margin specified in the price list concerning debit cards. So once again, there's a main message there. There's a sentence structure issue. We have the potential to use a direct link. One thing that annoys readers more than anything is where the website or the information says, we've got this information on the page, but you have to look for it. It's somewhere else. Whereas on a web page, what you can do is just introduce a direct link. Then the client can just click on it, and they're straight there. So if you make the client do the work, or the potential client do the work, they are not going to be happy. They might go to somewhere where it's simply easier to do business. And so from that point of view, it's clear information. But one thing we also might have to take into account here is that there's only so much work you might be able to do to an original sentence. Sometimes it might be worth just redrafting the whole thing completely. So let's have a look at what I did. So this is my attempt to redraft the original sentence. And once again, I introduce personal pronoun into this. So if you make an ATM cash withdrawal in a foreign currency, it will be converted to Polish zloty, full stop. First point. Second point, there is an added cost to this, which you can see in the debit card price list in section ... So what I've done here is I've put in a link, this underlined text. This is meant to be a link that the client can click straight away and then they see that price list. But not only that, I've told them exactly where they'll find that information in that price list. So it's not good enough just to say, here's the price list. You've got to tell them where that information is. That way you're really helping the client, you're really talking to them, you're persuading them to look further, to investigate in more detail, and hopefully then make a sale. However, I said it might be better to redraft, and if you go down that road, then you might come up with something like this. You will be charged an extra fee if you make a cash withdrawal in a foreign country. You can see the extra fee in the debit card price list in section 10 or section whatever it might be. So that second sentence is very similar to the second sentence in my first redraft. But that first sentence, you will be charged an extra fee if you make a cash withdrawal in a foreign currency. Very normal, very naturalized language. Everyone can read it, everyone can understand it. I don't have to read it 10 times. I can read it once, I know what's going on. And that's the key with clear communication. You're talking to the client and the client doesn't have to do any work at all. They read information, go, aha, okay. They read the second sentence, click on the link, know where they can find the fees. Everyone then is happy. And redrafting in this way makes the client happy, of course, but of course, from the point of view of business organization, it saves the client, potential client, from making a phone call, which means that you don't then need to hire someone to pick up that phone to explain the information. And so having clearly drafted, clearly written English text or any text of any language on your website saves business money from the point of view of providing support. Okay guys, I hope that you managed to follow me as I was going through those explanations. If you've got any comments or questions, then please leave them in the comments section below and I will do my best to get back to you. And be sure to check out the new video on Tuesday with the next few sentences for you to redraft. And of course, check out all of my social media on Wednesdays where I'm releasing classes from my online course. If you would like to have access to the questions and answers to all of those videos and have access to all of the videos a whole lot faster, then you can do that on my Patreon channel. So make sure you go and check that out as well. Okay, I'll see you next week.